Who's excited for the business plan class? I know this, some people are excited about it. Other people are kind of like, So I'm going to kind of go through my process on what I do every year. And we're going to go through how all the models work together. So this first class, we're going to go over, and I'm just kind of giving you some what we're going to be going over today, and then what we're going to be going over next week, and then I'll get started. I am going to ask everybody to ask questions and interact with me. So this isn't going to be a boring, just sit and listen to me talk for the next 2 hours. That's not how I teach. So if not, we'll be through the content in like an hour. So, and I'm going to give you time to actually work on it. All right, before we get started, I want to ask a couple people in the room, what would you like, or what are you expecting out of this class the next 2 weeks? Because I'm asking you to give up 4 hours of your time. So tell me, what is it that you would like me to go over or touch on, or what you would like to get from the class?
How do you want to?
Yep.
So I have attempted to do a GPS and a 411 a couple of times. And I can see the 50,000 foot big picture. Where I struggle is reining myself in on drilling it down. I end up drilling it down to way more things than it needs to be. And I have a hard time calling that list.
Okay. All right. Perfect. Anybody else, a raise of hands if you can, and I'm going to put us on gallery so I can see as many people as possible. So anybody else want to share what they would like to get from the class over the next 2 weeks?
So I'm having a hard time using the 411. I use the 411 for my daily lead gen. And I'm trying to use the 411 on all of the things I'm trying to do. And I'm having a brain block trying to figure that. I can't see it. I can't picture it. I talked to Jason about it. We go over it. So I'd love to hear your opinion on how you do that.
Okay, perfect. Anybody, so we have the GPSs, how to form a GPS, and then how to take that GPS and put it in a 411 and how to use that. Am I correct so far? That content's going to be covered next week for you guys. So what I'm going to take you is kind of from the big year picture, and then we're going to drill it down into what your schedule should even look like in order to accomplish your goals. So we're going to start at the big picture, like what you need to accomplish for the year, and then work it all the way down, and how you use one tool to use the other tools to use the other tools. Okay. So if you guys did not receive my email, real quick before I get started, I'd please put your name in the chat box. I need you to, once you get that email, I need you to open the document that is in there, and I need you to make a copy for your own, and it should go into your Google Drive. You can also download it and use it in Excel as well. It should work both.
I think for me, I don't know if anyone else is like this. This is, I'm new to real estate. So for me, it's just the whole concept of goal setting and, breaking goals down is totally foreign to me. So I struggle with that a lot. Okay. Just the getting started is where I struggle, I think. I've started and stopped, so I need to start and finish.
Well, hopefully we will accomplish that for you in the next 2 weeks. And guys, there is going to be some, I am going to give you some time to work on this during these next 2 hours. But you're going to have to go back and really refine some of this stuff over the next week. And the reason that I'm going to say you're going to have to refine the first part is because if you don't do that, your 411 and your GPS are going to be off. So over the next week, it's going to be important that you really look at what we go over today and make sure that it's accurate. All right, what I want you to do, guys, if you just got the email, it is important that you download when you open the document, you want to go to File, make a copy and rename it as your business plan. So if it was Craig's business plan, make it Craig Martin's business plan. Edit it. If you're making the changes in the copy, everybody's seeing what you're doing to the sheet. And the sheet is formatted such that all the math is in there, so that because it's in Excel, all the math should, for the most part, be in there and ready to go. I've checked it a couple times, so it should be squared away for you guys to use. So just don't mess with the formulas in there. And my email address is Desiree, Desiree, at keyhomesale.com. A couple people on this call can tell you that I'm super passionate about this. I think it's Lenore shaking her head yes. I teach this several times throughout the year. I think it's super important, and when I started doing this, it really gave clarity to my business, and it was a simple formula in order for me to achieve my goals. So when you're doing this, yes, it takes a lot of work. Yes, the first couple times that you do this, you're not going to be sure what you're doing. I would say probably until I got really, really good at this, it probably took me a good 3 years of doing it and then teaching it. And then teaching it over and over and over again. So you're not going to be an expert at this, and it's okay. But even if you start the process and kind of work through it, literally it's following the plan. By the end of this, you should have a very simple, easy schedule to follow in your calendar and know what you need to do every single day, day in and day out, week in and week out, to accomplish your goals. Okay, how does that sound to everybody? Good, good. All right, awesome, awesome. All right, so I'm gonna share my screen and we're gonna get started. All right, what is everybody seeing on the other end? And please feel free to unmute yourself and ask questions. I like classes that are very interactive. It just makes I know that then I'm covering content that you guys really need and or want. And then we have clarity for everybody else in the room. All right, so can everybody see the template, make a copy template on your screen? Yes.
Personal expense list.
Yes. Okay. Awesome. All right.
Desiree, I've sent an email. Can you send the document over there, please?
Hey, Des, while you're doing that, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
So 2 things. When you do yours from year to year, do you start with the one that you had the year before?
No. Yes and no. So this year I've actually done it because of COVID and everything that was happening. I actually redid this every single quarter. So every 12 weeks, I redid a new one to relook at, and guys, I would say, though we're doing this today, it's super important that you're looking at this throughout several times throughout the year. One, to see what is working and what is not working, and also to make sure that your expenses are staying in line. So this should not be something that you're utilizing today and don't look at it again until December 11th, 2021. That's not how this works. It should be something that you're opening and looking at at least 3 months, if not monthly. And just looking like this 411, you're going to recreate a new one every single week based on what you have going on for that week. So it's not like yes, you're going to have a template of what the 411 should look like, and your yearly goals won't change and your monthly goals will not change, but your weekly goals for the 411 should change every single week based on what you have going on.
Yeah. Okay.
Thanks. I have a question for you here. I see your personal expense list, and some of them is not personal, especially if you are like agent, real estate agent like this, auto payment and all this, because we use it for business. It's not personal. It's become part of the business expense. And I see more stuff there.
So this is a template that was given to us from KWRI as far as your personal expenses. Now, I know some of your personal expenses, like my health, dental, and vision insurance is paid under our business. So that I just shifted over to the business side, which is under the Life by Design form. So there are stuff that is going to be possibly listed here that could be a personal expense as well. I would say in the grand scheme of things, I would probably, if it's categorized under business, I would put it under business. Your business expenses, just add a line item. But if not, there's going to be some things in here like nails, like there's going to be some people, I don't get my nails done. So, obviously that's not going to count. But what's important on this form as we're filling it out is really look at every single thing that you spend money on. So this past year, what I did was I created another like QuickBook account for my personal expenses to really see what I was spending money on. And it was very eye-opening for me to see actually what I was spending money on. And COVID made me really look at that. My family enjoys going out to eat and different things like that. So I really got to see like an overview of where I was actually spending money and then be able to make adjustments from there. So this list is awfully long. But I would say really, really look at your expenses. And if you don't have something like QuickBooks or an accountant that kind of tracks this stuff for you, it's going to take you a little while to go through everything. When I say this, I mean, go through everything, go through your credit card statements, go through your bank statements, go through everything to get a true, accurate number of what your personal expenses are. So the first thing that we're going to do here is we're going to take
one of the things, I have two Visa card, one for business, one for personal. So at the end of the year, I just use the statement coming from the business account or the business. So it's easy. It was easy to track, easy to use it for the tax purpose at the end of the year.
Yeah, that's a great idea. You should always have separate accounts for your personal expenses and your business expenses. The reason we're tracking your personal expenses, though, is because we really need to see what is our survival number. Meaning at the end of the day, what money do we need to bring home in income to survive personally? So we're going to get started on this. I'm going to give you 10 minutes to work on this. Guys, one more time, because what I don't want to happen is start seeing people type in this. You go to, can everybody see my mouse? You go to File, Make a Copy. Make a copy. This pops up. You rename it to your business plan and hit OK. Okay. That is going to make you a copy that you can personally edit. Does anybody have any questions about that?
I have a question just in general. Should our spouse's expenses be rolled into this? Will their income be considered later? Or is it just personal? Because a lot of it's mixed.
No. So like if your personal expenses, say your spouse pays like half of the personal expenses with their job, then when you're calculating this, I would calculate that only what you pay in here, like what you contribute to it. Like I would, so basically if you pay half of the expenses, then I would only put half of the whatever those expenses are. Because if not, it's going to skew the other numbers down the line of what you need to actually, how many transactions you actually need to do, if that makes sense.
Yep.
Hi, Desiree.
Yes.
Question. If some of your expenses are seasonal, do you still spread it out over the 12 months?
Yes. Mhm.
Okay.
Yep.
Desiree, I don't want to belabor the subject on who pays what, but some of those of us who are a little bit older, who different generations handled finances differently. So ours went into one big pot. So there's no he pays half, I pay half. What are your thoughts? I mean, this is the first year, I'll be honest with you, and men, I just got to, it's weird because well, there was a long time that I didn't work, but I've been doing real estate now 6 years, and this is the first year we actually have separated my business account. So this is a learning curve for both of us. So what's your suggestion on handling those expenses?
One of this could ultimately come to your what your goals are too. Like, what is your bigger vision? Like, is it your bigger vision that you're covering all the personal expenses and or, you know, it's really what your long-term goal is. It was always my long-term goal that all of our expenses were covered with our, you know, my husband's in real estate now and we both are on the team, but you know, it was at one point, it was like, okay, how do we make that shift so that he can get into real estate? So, you know, it started like he actually was covering all the personal expenses at one point in time. And then over year 2, 3, they started getting added to the real estate side of it so that he could step into the business, if that makes sense. So
it does. It does.
I would say start with your end in mind. And this is, you know, when you're doing this business plan, think of your vision over the next year. Where do you want to see this a year from now? And that's how you should plug in your numbers. Okay. And guys, because I'm the only one kind of, I know Hope is co-hosting, but in order to respect her and let her get the most out of the class, I am going to ask if you have questions throughout this process, because I can't see everybody when I'm sharing my screen, that you just unmute yourself and just ask the question. Okay, guys? Because I don't want to miss out anything for anybody. So,
that's very quick.
Yes.
It's Dennis. How do I make this copy? I can't get this to make this copy here.
Open up the document.
I got the document open.
Okay. Is it in Google Docs?
Yep.
Okay. File.
Where's file? Oh, file there. Okay.
Make a copy.
Got it.
And then okay.
Does anybody else? I don't have that bar on mine. I just have the make a copy template, and then I don't have that whole bottom row where your commands are.
You don't have this?
Correct. No idea why, but
by hitting escape on your keyboard.
Hit escape from when you open it from the email Desiree sent. If not, I can just download it to my computer and do it from there.
Yeah, I would do that, Mary. If you can't, Mary Pat, if you can't do it that way, then I would just download it, and it will open in Excel as well. All right, guys. So I'm going to give you about 5-10 minutes to kind of fill this out before we move on to the next. I would like by the end of this at least to get to the budget model. So with that being said, we have a lot of things to go through. So because I really want to focus on next week taking the 4 models that we go over today, and then really diving deep into the GPS 411 and the daily schedule next week. So I'm going to give you 5 to 10 minutes to kind of add your numbers in. As you're going through it, let me know if you have questions.
Desiree, I have a quick question.
Go ahead, Craig.
So a part of personal expenses that my wife and I have is investing and saving for investment stuff. If this is just survival number, should I not include those numbers in this?
Correct, correct. That is going to be in another section, guys. So your goals and your goals at like these are just your basic survival numbers. There is another section that you're going to fill out that is going to handle like if this and this happen, these are my additional goals. They're going to be
Thank you.
your in the next section. So these are just survival numbers.
Hey Des, I'm sorry I was a little bit late. Did you send it in the chat, the link, or?
I send it in an email. So if you throw your email in, if you guys do not have this sheet, throw your email in the chat and I will get it over to you guys right away.
Thank you.
I don't know, it came out in email yesterday. Like I got 2 emails from KPG yesterday with it attached to it.
Yes.
I'll look further. I got back late, sorry.
Hi, Desiree, it's Jonathan. Should we add things like electric and oil deliveries and that kind of thing?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so what is the purpose for us to do this list of personal or business expense? How we will use this? And the second part of the question, if you have 2 business, should this be different?
Well, one, it's going to calculate the number of transactions that you actually need in order to hit your goals.
So can I jump in on that too, Des?
Yeah, and if you have other businesses, I would say you need to know what that business is going to contribute to your income and then adjust from there. This is just the real, like we're not doing business plans for multiple businesses. You know what I mean? Like this is just for the real estate piece of it. So if you contribute like 50% of your expenses are paid by your real estate business, then you're going to divide that, your personal expenses in half. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but both business are self-employed, independent contractor in both. Because so difficult to track because the car is used in both business, the insurance car is using in both business, the phone bill is using in both, you know.
Yeah, but you're
so difficult to
probably
separate.
yeah, but you're not paying you're not paying your cell phone out of both businesses. You're paying it out of one or the other. So which business are you paying it out of? Are you paying it out of personal or are you paying out of, I have multiple businesses as well, and my cell phone bill isn't paid by my investment properties. It's paid by my real estate business. My health insurance is paid by my real estate business, not my investment properties. So that's, I mean, look at it as 2 separate entities. I mean, yes, you could recopy this and do it for another business if you so choose, but this is just real estate focused.
I guess to divide them because they are used equal in both parts.
And that's part of what your accountant does too. That's a great answer. I mean, I've got 3 businesses. So this is my personal expenses. This is how I run it. I've customized it to my personal expenses. And then I do it just this one that we're doing today is just my real estate business. And I know that my other company pays for my cable bill out of my house. And just like Des was saying, so you just have to, you know, just focus today on your real estate business on this. That's what I'm doing. And then the other businesses I run separate numbers on. And yeah. I know that certain things, like she says, pays one company pays for one bill. So
thanks, Lenore.
Yeah.
Hey, Desiree.
Hi, Nevin.
So,
congratulations, by the way. I know you just got your license.
Oh, thank you. So I'm currently, I don't live alone right now, so I don't really have too many expenses that's on here. I pay for like subscriptions like Netflix and all of that, and clothing. But other than that, I don't really have too many expenses.
Okay. Just fill in out what expenses that you need in order to survive, Nevin, and what we're gonna do. If it's your goal to change that over the next year, then that's gonna be added to another section. So you're gonna fill in what your expenses are for what you do right now.
All right, sounds good.
Okay. All right, I'm gonna give you another 5 or so minutes. Any other questions? Any other questions currently? And guys, this isn't necessarily fun or exciting. Sometimes stressful. I meet with a lot of agents that this is incredibly stressful for. So I know this can be overwhelming at times, and trust me, at the end of this process, you will have clarity and you'll know what you need to do in order to have all your goals met.
As a real estate agent, there is important things not in the list, like association fees, MLS fees.
That's not your word. That's not personal expenses. That's going to be on the next page.
Okay.
So these are just your personal expenses, guys.
I was unable to save this as a document in my Google Drive. So if I've downloaded it in Excel, so the formulas would be there, right?
Yes, the formulas should be there. Guys, you should be able to do file, make a copy, file, make a copy. Should allow you to save it.
Desiree, I'm not sure. At the bottom where it says total personal expenses, is there supposed to be a formula there that adds everything? I didn't have anything, so I put my own in. I didn't know if that was.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
That's fine. It should be calculated, so it might have gotten deleted out. Okay. So if you just do equal sum.
Sum and then the.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Correct. Yep.
Just wanted to, in case it was with anybody else, I figured I'd at least.
So I'm gonna put that formula in there for you guys. So it will be equal. So guys, if you're missing the formula, that is the formula in there. So just copy that and put that in the spot next to total expenses. And it will do the math for you.
I can't see it. It looks too small for me to see. Maybe I need glasses.
Yeah. Dana, it's equal, so the word sum.
Okay.
And then do parenthesis B2 colon B43 colon, and it will total everything for you. And guys, if you are on my Facebook page, you can download all of these. I have the templates uploaded as well. So the group page is Upskill Your Business. All right, so go through this over the next week and really refine and look what that is for you.
I was just probably peeking ahead, but I see some redundancies between the this tab and the Life by Design tab.
Correct, because this is going to actually.
Is that supposed to?
Yes, there is, but I'm gonna.
It's supposed to autofill?
No, you're gonna just put your monthly expenses down here on this number. What I did was I broke this down into the house expenses so that you were making sure that you were getting all of your house expenses in there. Because what was happening is a lot of people had a lot more categories than all of this stuff that is listed here. So what I tell people to do is just put the monthly total pre-tax in here, and then we'll calculate it through.
Okay.
It's just like so that you really look at truly what all of your expenses are. Because what was happening was people were just looking at this stuff quickly and then not really truly looking at all of their expenses.
Okay.
All right, guys. So the next form, we're going to go over to the next tab, which is the Life by Design form. And I have, this is like our allocation form, or what used to be our old allocation form. So the first piece to this is going to be our goals. So as Craig mentioned, part of his goals is investments. It could be vacations. It could be a new car. It could be debt reduction. It could be a whole bunch of other stuff. So what I'd like to do is take 2 minutes here for you to quickly put in the goals that you want to accomplish above and beyond your personal and business expenses. Does anybody have any
Desiree, I have a
questions?
question for you. Yeah, so I kind of want to know, is this page linked to any other output in a different page? And the reason I ask is I had filled in some of the stuff previous on a different file before downloading the file you shared. And can I copy and paste that in, or am I going to ruin some links if I do that?
You shouldn't. It might just move, well, it might, I don't know if it will affect the formulas.
So there's an output to a different page from this page?
I don't know if you copy and paste your formula, like copy and paste the numbers in, if it will erase the formulas. I don't know. I'm not that great at Excel to know yes or no to that, to answer that question. You can try it and undo it by the back button.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Sure.
Like, I know the basics of Excel.
Yep.
I'm just a realtor. Not an Excel person.
Desiree, good morning. It's Joanna.
Hi, Joanna.
Hi. So this is goal numbers?
Yes, this is your additional things you want to do. Like if you want to go on 5 vacations this year, what's that going to cost you?
I'd love 5 vacations.
Me too.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, it's really the additional things. And the reason that I'm starting with this, guys, is we're not in this business to survive. We're not. We're in it to thrive and excel. So really think, like, what are the things that I want to do this year with my business?
Desiree, I have a question about the tax rate.
Mm-hmm.
Is the 30%, is that based on something in general? Because I noticed it applies to our expenses too, but I had rolled everything in, kind of. Like house taxes were already included in the total.
This is your business taxes that you would have to pay. So we always recommend that you, and it might not be 30%. For me, my tax bracket is not 30%. As an individual agent, you should be setting aside 30% of every commission check that comes in for additional taxes. It's not.
Okay, so it's adding it. It's not.
Yeah,
okay.
it's not like property tax and stuff like that.
Okay.
All right, is everybody good with that section? And guys, this might be, if you're in this place in your business, this might be, and I'm looking at a couple of you specifically in here just because I've coached with you before, like an admin. So if one of your goals is the next year to get an admin, then that salary should go up there. All right. We're going to go to personal expenses. So I know we've done the housing expenses on the first tab. If you have done that, you can take that number and put it in your monthly pre-tax right here and not have to fill in all of those numbers here. So you can kind of like skip this section right here and just put that total on that first page right here.
I'm sorry, Des, say that again?
So instead of moving the numbers over from that first page to these pages under house expense, food, utilities, monthly credit card bills, you know, because I had you break down all your personal expenses on this page.
Yeah.
So you can just take the total from this page down here.
Yep.
And then move it right over here to this page.
To pre-tax.
The reason that I did this breakdown, and you know, the reason that I just didn't keep it line 31 to 40 is because by doing this additional step before that, it truly makes you look at your personal expenses.
So here's a
Because
quick
I would do this year after year after year and like not calculate how many times I would go out to eat a week or how many times, you know, like I was missing expenses. So this really just, the first step of this really just makes you truly look at your personal expenses. And it was very eye-opening when I started to do that. And I could very easily look at, okay, I have 2 gym memberships at 2 separate gyms. Do I really need that? You know,
so it doesn't, what goes in the personal survival number, the average? Oh, that comes later.
yeah, yep.
Okay.
Yeah, we're gonna skip that section for right now because we have to skip that section and it should auto-populate for you.
So we take the number from the first page and put it in the monthly total pre-tax box?
Correct.
Okay, thanks.
Yep. We're getting to the business expenses, Nikki. Just bear with me for a couple minutes. I'm trying to walk step by step through all of this. And there is going to be some expenses that are in the personal column that are paid in your business, which is okay. You can categorize, not every, you know, we're all business owners. We all categorize our expenses differently. So it doesn't matter if it's in personal or business. It doesn't matter which one you categorize them in, just don't count them in both, if that makes sense. So if it's a personal expense, categorize it under personal expenses. If it's a business expense, categorize it under, add it as a line item under the business expenses. This is kind of based off of what has come out from KWRI and the MREA book. So all of our stuff is a bit different, if that makes sense.
That's
So if
right.
you're,
Can you please tell me the formula for the business expense monthly at the grand total? The formula's not there.
So it's gonna be, I believe, equal sum E48 to E50 or colon E59.
It must be F because I think somehow there's 2 columns in there. All right, let me try that. Thank you. Oh, that didn't work.
So it should be equal sum E48 colon.
You can also just highlight the cells you want to add and drag. That might be easier if they're merged.
Did that work for you?
Desiree?
Not yet.
Yes.
Down with business expenses, E&O insurance, what does that run a year?
125 a quarter for our
125 a quarter.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's 500 a year.
All right. And offhand, does anybody know what the MLS fees are yearly?
It's 110 a quarter, and then for us, give me a second. I can tell you what our MLS dues are for a year.
No,
it's if you. This is for LVAR guys. If you have Bright or something else, it might be different. And then it's $455 for the yearly total. Joanna?
Is for GLVR is 455.
455 plus 110 a quarter.
Plus 110 a quarter.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have that? 455 plus 110 a quarter.
Yeah.
And then anybody on Bright, that MLS is what, like 80 a quarter?
No, I think Bright, if someone can speak up because they might know better than I do, it's 125. Am I correct in saying that? Is that 125 a quarter?
124.55 a quarter, paid in, yeah, paid quarterly, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
And E&O insurance while we're on that?
It's 125 a quarter, 500 a year for our market center.
Oh. So membership dues and MLS fees is 1,000 if I have Bright too, basically.
Yeah, that's probably about right. All right, guys, I'm gonna give a couple more minutes to kind of work through that. Any more questions on that? And did we get the calculation right on business expenses?
No, it's not working for me, but I'll have to figure it out on my own time.
Okay, if you want to I'll give you my did you get my cell phone number? If you want to give me a call, I can walk you through it.
Yep.
Okay.
The reason being is that E and F are somehow tied together in that one column, so it's not working properly, I think. But I'll figure it out.
What do you mean by team member splits?
So if you have a team and you're paying their cap and or well, actually I would put my team, I put the total cap up in the market center and the royalty up there. So, but if you're if you have a buyer agent and you split 50-50 commission with them, for example, and they're doing 10 deals, 10 deals at 5,000 a piece, you have to take that and that total number, which would be 5,000 times, what did I say, 10?
Yeah.
So 5,000 times 10 and then divide it by 2 if I was on a 50-50 split for, does that make sense?
Okay. Yeah. It's
So if it's 50,000 and then I pay a buyer agent 50% of that, you're paying them $25,000.
so we don't need to worry about that if we're not on a team.
If you're not on a team or you don't have a team, then you don't need to worry about that, correct? And I will also say, if you pay yourself a salary, you do not, you take your, if as you, the business owner, you take your salary out. So when it says salary, benefits, payroll, expenses, that it should not be your personal salary that you're paying yourself. It is literally just the salary of any support staff. If not, you're going to be double dipping in this formula and your numbers are going to be skewed.
Does each market center have a different cap?
Yes. Hope says yes.
Desiree, is occupancy for the office dues?
Occupancy, so occupancy could be for your desk fees. It also can be if you have like I have a branch office in Quakertown, so that's where I put my rent.
And don't forget about other things you might pay for, apps on your phone that you use for marketing, Calendly, Supra, all of that stuff that we forget about because
to Hope's point, it's very important that you go pull your credit card statements and go through it. Even if you have a business credit card and you say, oh, I'm going to lump everything in here. As we get further along, when you see in the budget model, it will really have you look to make sure that you're not overspending in a certain area. To make sure that you're maximizing your profit, because at the end of the day, that's what we're doing this for, right? For a profit, so that life by design goals can all be met.
Where am I putting in marketing expenses, marketing advertising expenses?
Lead generation. All right, does everybody, if you can use the thumbs up or the reaction so I can kind of see quickly, is everybody good with this page so far? Any other questions? And if anybody has issues with formulas, I'm not sure what happened because I went through all of these sheets to make sure the formulas were correct. So I'm not sure if someone was in there, didn't make a copy and was messing around with it. So
that section for the cap and royalty, should we just take our numbers and divide them by 12 and put
Correct.
it in that box? Okay.
Yep.
Hey, Des, I think there's a way to lock your formulas.
I know there is in Excel. I haven't been able to figure that out in
Google Sheets.
In Google Sheets. I know you can lock the formulas in Excel. I just can't figure it out in Google Sheets. But yeah, I need to figure that out.
Hey, and I'm having some, like, I'm looking at all my business expenses that I'm projecting for next year, and I'm like, this is crazy. like
Mhm.
where I'm at for monthly total for business expenses, and my grand total for the year.
Mhm. You want to talk about that now, or
Yeah,
you want to
yeah.
set up something separately?
Probably a good idea.
Okay.
Because now I'm like, no, I'm not going to do this. Because yeah.
Okay. All right. Let's scroll up to the top, or not top. I scroll up to this right here. So you should have, being that the formulas are in there, it should have taken your grand total for your Life by Design, your business survival number, and your personal survival number, and put it in these columns right here. And you should have a grand total to thrive. Does everybody have that there?
Yep.
Now, if you got my email ahead of time, you should have your average commission. This is an important piece, guys, because your average commission may not be my average commission, may not be Jill's average commission, may not be Linda's, Mike's, or Jason's. You need to change this number to what your average commission is.
You're talking about the 5,000, the highlighted number?
Correct.
And if we don't know that number yet?
Just make sure that you go back and edit it before the next class.
And if the numbers didn't populate, which numbers should be in here for personal survival? What should have populated?
It should have populated
115. I don't see any of these numbers matching.
This number should be E44, equal E44 should be in the box that's highlighted blue, should be E44. Business should be equal E61.
Okay, that's right.
And then Life by Design should be G18.
That's correct.
So Desiree, on business survival, the thing that you've got highlighted in yellow, that number should reflect our average commission on
and
yearly or monthly?
No, per deal. So how do we calculate our average commission? I want you to look over the last year, take your total number and figure out what your average commission is. Your total sales, total them up and figure out what your average commission is. And you also need to know, was it 2.5? Was it 2.25? Was it 2.75? Was it 3%? You're gonna need that for the next page. So if you don't know that number, figure out what that is. The more accurate that you're with this, guys, the more accurate these sheets will be.
Okay, and I get that on my PW.
Real quick, I have a question.
Sure.
So you're still on the Life by Design tab under the average fee, personal survival, and business survival?
Correct.
So you have 5,000 there. So you're saying our average commission should be there?
No, well, your average commission for Craig, for example, like our average commission on our team is $6,000. So his number, because we split it with him 50-50, is going to be 3,000.
Okay.
Do you see what I'm saying? Like, depending on your situation will depend on what your average commission is.
Right. And is that formulated somewhere or no?
This is not formulated. This, you have to calculate what that number is for you.
Got it.
Business survival.
Well, that just changed my transaction numbers immensely.
It will.
Is there a number we should like shoot for if we haven't closed any sales yet?
What I would say is, because there's tons of people on this call, look at what your market center does in average. So like if you're at like for us, our average sales price is, I think, around 238. Is it 238, Lenore? I haven't looked at it within the last week. It's either 238, 250. So I would take
Right around there.
yeah, what your average commission is for your market center and base it off of that. If you don't have a number to go by, that's what I would base it on.
Do we find this in, on command in reports?
I don't know that it's going to be under command, under reports. Let me look at something real quick.
So the only way I know how to get it would have been on my KW in reports.
I'm just want to look at something real quick. Joanna, what I would have you do, because I'll try to find out where you can actually pull that data. But what I would recommend is you have Kathy pull a report for you of your closed transactions, and you could probably figure it out quickly that way. So go to your MCA guys if you aren't tracking it somewhere. And FYI, or tip, I will say, is one thing that was super, super incredibly painful for me when I started this process was actually the hours and hours and hours and hours it took for me to pull all of this data together. So as I was kind of working through this and learning this process, it made me put other things in place to track things. So I have an entire sheet that every single month tells me every single property that I settle on, the gross commission income, or the sales price, the gross commission income, what I pay out to the agents on the team, what transaction fee I pay to the market center, and then gives me a total at the end. And I am in that sheet literally every single day. Every single day I'm in that. And I can very quickly now pull those pieces between QuickBooks and other tracking sheets that I have. I'm very able to quickly pull these numbers together. It just takes time. So as you're going through this stuff, think, what system or process can I put in place that I can quickly pull this data year after year?
So what did you say on your sheet? Sales price, gross commission, transaction fee, and then of course what you pay out to your team.
Yeah, I'll pull it up for you so you can kind of copy the top of it.
I have one too. Oh yeah.
So this is kind of what my sheet looks like. I'm trying to make it smaller so you can see all the tabs here. Can everybody see that? So I have the month, I have the property address, the sales price, the commission, any referral fees paid, the subtotal, the market center split, outside agents if I pay them, and then all the splits of my team. And that calculates my royalty, the transaction fee, if it's a buyer or seller, my net income,
Oh my goodness.
TC fees, and the referral source. This is important, guys. You need to know your referral sources. So where did you get that piece of business? So I can quickly go in here and figure, okay, I got X amount of business from past clients. I got X amount of business from, whatever that may be.
Oh, I'm adding that one.
Can you share that?
I'll make a copy of it for you guys and share it on my Facebook group page. So if you're not on the Facebook group page, join that and I will make a copy and share that with you guys.
What is the group page again?
Upskill your business. It's in the chat, guys. Upskill your business. and then my name.
Desiree, for in the expenses, for the business, for the automobile, is just the mileage or?
Yeah, you know, some people, you'll see this in housing expenses. Okay, this is for me, okay? This is for me, guys. I'm speaking for myself. You do it however you want to do it. Some people have their auto payment as a business expense because they have advertisement or whatever on their car. The only thing I calculate in auto under business expenses is my mileage. Okay. I have another line item in here for my health insurance because my business pays the health insurance.
Right. And when we're calculating our commissions, we don't include rentals, correct?
I never do. I always treat, it really depends on what your business is. If you mostly do rentals, then calculate rentals in there. But for me, when we do rentals, it's kind of just bonus type stuff. It's, we call them on our team, we call them fillers. Like you won't even see on my tracking sheet any of the rental income. It's tracked at the very bottom as just bonus, like it's filler bonus money.
Okay.
Because we don't do a whole heck of a lot of them. But if that's a main piece of your business, then yeah, certainly.
Hey, Desiree, this brings up a really good point about Bob Wells' financial mastery class in January. I learned a lot of this through that class, and this will be my 5th time taking it. So highly recommend. He explains a lot of where things go expenses wise, how to plan, how to set up, you know, savings account. So I would highly recommend anybody go sign up for that class.
Guys, it's $100, but it's that $100 is well worth the stuff that you'll learn in that class, and that is coming up in January. So if you haven't taken that class or need a refresher on that class, I highly recommend that you be on the lookout for that. It's coming up, I think it's January 7th is the first class. But I do highly recommend his class. All right.
What is the guy's name again? I'm sorry. For the class?
I'm sorry.
What's the name for the class? The guy's
Financial Mastery. And Craig, I can talk to you about that on the thing. I'll get you signed up for that.
Perfect. Thank you.
All right. Any more questions on the Life by Design form? While, because I want to get at least through the next 2, maybe 3 tabs before we wrap up today. So I have about 45 minutes to do that. So are we good there? Do we have at least a transaction needed? Do we have this number right here? Does everybody at least have something that they could plug into that number?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, awesome. All right. Now, the next tab, the economic model. Now, let's talk about this form. The first time you do this, how many, let's start by a raise of hand. Who knows their conversion numbers? All right. The only thing that will skew this form is the conversion numbers. So the conversion numbers in this form are very conservative. But I would challenge you guys to really pay attention to this stuff over the next year, because as you build year after year, you can go in here and change these numbers to reflect truly what your conversions are. So for example, Mike, his conversion on listings may be a heck of a lot better than mine are. Craig's conversion from lead to buyer appointment to, you know, under agreement might be way different. So this is where you individually have to be tracking what your conversion numbers look like. And we're going to get into this more, that it will calculate you on if you use some of these other forms. But These are general numbers that you can use. Okay. So
Now,
what-
Desiree, if you're new,
Oh.
if you're new and you're looking at this, and of course it's very like, what the heck am I looking at?
Yeah.
What's like a good strategy for somebody who is new, just getting started looking at these numbers to kind of just not feel so overwhelmed by everything?
So I would say these numbers we're simply going to be breaking down in order for you to know how many appointments that you need to go on. Okay, this is why we're tracking this stuff. And Craig, for you and Dennis, who are on my team, we track this to a very high level. So we come in these forms and we'll tweak your numbers based on the team's numbers.
Okay.
So we basically track these numbers. That's why Craig meet every morning and you report your numbers to Matt because he's tracking your conversions.
Okay, that makes sense.
So, people, my team meets every morning for what, 15 minutes, 15, 20 minutes, and we report our numbers. And basically my director of operations is actually tracking our numbers so that we know what our conversion numbers are. And guys, this is not something that you're going to do overnight. This has been like year one, I implemented the allocation form. Year two, I implemented the economic and budget model. Year three, I implemented the Life by Design, economic, the budget, the marketing, the GPS, the 411. Like it was a progression. So don't get overwhelmed by this. Just know it's a process. And as you learn these formulas, you'll get better at doing them, and it just brings more clarity to your business. How many people in this room just are like, I close what I close and it is what it is, and don't really know their numbers, don't know what they have to do on a daily basis. I can look at anybody on the team at this point and say, you need to make X amount of calls to get X business based on your conversions. And then it simply comes down to whether you're doing that stuff or not. And if you're not doing it, why are you not doing it? Is it that your vision for what you want life to be isn't big enough? Is it not exciting enough? Is it not something that is really important to you? Because that's ultimately what it comes down to. All right, so for the economic model, what you're going to do is you're going to take the Life by Design, you're going to take the number on 26. So right here, you're going to take this number. We're going to plug it into up here, or so if it's 10, 15, you're going to plug it in there. Next piece, what is your business? Is it 50% buyer, 50% seller? Is it 40% buyer, 60% seller? Is it 100% seller, 0 buyer? What does that look like for you? So over the last year, and guys, it probably, for most of us, it's probably heavy on the buying side.
I'm sorry, Desiree, which is the number you're plugging in? I'm switching between screens, not very successfully.
So take the Life by Design number. So your grand total to
the grand total. Okay.
So the number of transactions, you're going to take that number of transactions and plug that into the yearly transaction goal.
Thank you.
So you're going to plug it in up there. You're going to change your average commission to what was on the previous sheet here. So what was your average commission? And you're going to plug it in right here.
So Desiree, I don't know my average commission. And then I also want to, you're tracking buyers and sellers. How? Is that like in real time, or is that a number you pull from command? Where do you get that number?
I get it from my de novo sheet here.
Okay.
Like I track how many buying deals we have and how many listing deals we have. Based on the MREA, it should be 50-50. That's a healthy business. So it should be 50% buyer, 50% seller. So if you're a new agent, so for my buyer agents on the call, you're going to be 100% buying side. If you're on a team, you're going to be 100% on the buying side and 0 seller.
And so you just kind of tally that as you close?
So on my sheet, on that sheet that I showed you guys where I track everything, one of the columns here, I'll pop it up here. Sorry guys, I have to. So right here, I track whether it's a buy, sell, or lease. And at the end of the year, I go through and I calculate how many buyers, how many sellers, and then figure out how much of the business it was.
Yeah, I guess when do you populate that? After close?
I'm not sure what you're asking. Maybe.
So this is you're looking at.
So when I'm doing my business plan at the end of the year, I kind of look at the previous year. So by now we should, guys, we should all know what we're closing by the end of this year. Would everybody agree with that? Like we know like how many like at this point, really by mid-November, you know how many pieces of business you're going to finish out the year with for the most part. You might have 1 or 2 off, but for the most part, we all know where our business stands for the year. So you should be able to look at 2020 and say, okay, I closed 100 deals and 50 of them were buyers and 50 of them were sellers. Or 60 of them were sellers and 40% were buyers. And that will tell you your percentages here.
Right. So I guess what I'm asking is after you, because a deal could fall through just because you're under agreement. So after you close, it's settled, you go into your spreadsheet and you just kind of mark down those details?
Well, that sheet that I showed you guys is forever changing. I'm literally in it every day. So if a deal falls through, we have another tracking sheet. We have, guys, we probably have like, I don't know, like 10 tracking sheet. Like we literally track beyond track. Like we track, like, and Dennis is laughing, but it's true. Like I have a tracking sheet for everything. I have a tracking sheet. Like this is our like general what we work on, but then we track our number of transactions. We can track how many deals that how many deals were actually under agreement. And then we have a sheet that tracks how many fall through so that we know where we're, you know, what we need to upskill our business with. So like if I have one agent that is killing it, getting properties under agreement, but can't close them, someone jump on and tell me what the problem is there. Anybody?
The transaction portion of it, they can't keep it together.
Correct. So that what they need help with negotiations. They need help communicating with they need training on how to communicate with the clients to keep the deals together. So when you're looking at this stuff, like really you can clearly identify the problems in your business or the problems in people's business if you track this stuff and you can say, okay, let me look at this clearly and understand where, you know, because, you know, Craig might not have the same issues as Emily, as, you know, Danny or whomever. So you can really very clearly see where the holes in your business are and then train to that.
Desiree, I've got 2 questions. The first is on the MREA model. That average sales price, is that self-populating in there at all?
No, you need to change that from the page 1.
I'm plugging that in.
Yeah.
So those, what is that, 7 fields? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 fields on the top from line 3 to line 9. Those are things I'm populating,
Correct.
right?
Yes.
Okay. All right. And then my other question is on the, go back to the other page, please. On back on the Life by Design sheet, the personal survival number, you have that just plugged in for 5,000. Where is that coming from?
That's your average commission again.
So it's the same number twice?
Yes, because it's calculating over to the transaction number.
Thank you very much. Okay, good. Thank you.
Okay.
I didn't understand. Can you explain that again?
You're just putting your total numbers on the Life by Design, your average fee. So that's your average commission. It's just populating over to the transactions needed, guys.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
Can I change the yearly transaction goal, say back on the other tab for the Life by Design, it says 19, but can I say, well, I want to actually try to sell 25 this year?
So what I would do, I'm not sure who's talking, so.
It's Kelly.
Hi, Kelly. Kelly, what I would recommend is adding something up by the Life by Design.
Okay.
Because my question for you is, why is 25 important to you?
Because my goal this year was 20, so now I want to push it up.
Okay, so maybe what are you going to do with that extra 5 transactions?
Save it.
Save it. So you're going to just put savings in there and then calculate. Listen, just to have a number, if there's not a bigger meaning as to why you want that to happen, it's not, I'm not going to say it's not going to happen, because, you know, if you're very driven, you'll make it happen.
Makes sense.
But it's so much more attainable if there's a reason for it.
All right, I'll put it in my new kitchen then.
Yep. Put in your new kitchen. All right, guys. So we're on the economic model. All right. So we fill out the yearly transactions. We change the average commission. That will calculate your GCI. So you don't need to change your GCI there. If you change this to 50-50, it will calculate through. Okay. Your average commission. I will tell you what I do. I always calculate this number low. I always calculate it at like our average commission for the team is probably around 2.75, 2.8. I always calculate it at 2.5. Why? It's a buffer. It's a buffer for me as far as what's actually needed. So that's why I keep it at 2.5. You can do whatever you feel more comfortable with. If you want to put your accurate number, put your accurate number.
Why does line 12 have 3% then?
It's just how it calculated. If you actually click on it and look at the top, it is 2.5.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Okay. So these numbers here, these conversion numbers, you need to plug in your numbers or keep them what they are now. The reason that the buyer leads are, why do we have leads conversion only at 20%? And the reason that I've edited it to be like this is because if you're using command for like Facebook ads, or you're getting online leads from, now your number may be different. Like if you get all your buying leads from a referral source and you have, you know, an 80% of conversion, if you get that lead to convert them to an appointment, your numbers are going to be different here. I calculated this based on internet leads, what I have seen over the last year. So meaning running Facebook command ads, that type of thing. So obviously, if you're taking an internet lead and there's a 20% conversion, then you're going to need a lot more leads. Does that make sense to everybody? But you can edit them to what your business is. So if you know your conversion numbers, plug them in there. If not, use what's there. It's not going to hurt you. If anything, you're going to close way more deals. Way more deals. All right. So based on this, with 15 transaction goal a year, I basically need to go on one seller listing appointment a month and basically 2 buyer listing appointments a month. So we'll take your mouth, calculate it all down. This is the number of leads that I need a year. Okay. This is the breakdown of each. Okay, so we'll break it down completely for you. So how valuable are these numbers to know, okay, I need to go on 2 listing appointments a month to hit my goals? Is that valuable to anybody? Show of hands. All right, this is the listing needs form. So by taking that number, plug, and this will all calculate through for you guys. This basically is the number of transactions that I want to complete. I have a 10% fallout rate. If your fallout rate is more, then you need to change that. If your fallout rate is 25%, then change it to 25%. MREA says 10% fallout. That is 50% of my business. What percentage of your listings sell? 80% sell. And then it will tell you, I have the average days on market as 45. The average days on market right now is not 45. I try to buffer that a little bit, meaning I wouldn't put 2 days on market in there. Let's put it that way. Especially upcoming this next year. I do believe we are going to have a strong first and second quarter. I'm not too confident in the third and fourth, or as confident. So I might edit that to maybe 30 days on market or keep it 45. Again, it's only going to make this a heck of a lot easier if you keep those numbers in there. You'll know by halfway through the year that you've hit all your goals.
And going back to your very important question about, is it important to know how many listings we need? Then it goes back to lead gen and making sure that we get appointments.
Correct.
To hit that goal. And if we have to keep lead genning in order to get that several appointments a week. Right. Okay.
So one of my things was like, I wasn't big on, and for my team, I kind of switch it up all the time so they never know what's coming. Sometimes I track their number of contacts. Sometimes I make them do bold 100. Sometimes I make them we track appointments for a given month. Sometimes we're tracking, we're constantly switching it up based on our goals, or like where we're at. So I would say when I look at something like this, if I were looking at this, I would be like, I don't get off the phone until I hit or set my 1 listing appointment. And when I came back to KW, I guess it's 4 years now. When I came back, my goal was to set 1 appointment a day, Monday through Friday, 1 appointment a day. And I did not get off the phone until that 1 appointment was set. My first year back to KW, I did 15 million. Literally all I did, and I might have been on the phone till 5 o'clock at night to set that 1 appointment, but that was my goal. Literally, I would come into the office. I was in Allentown in this little cubby hole closet. It was actually, looked like a broom closet in the older building. And I literally would start at 9 o'clock, and until I set an appointment, I was not leaving that office. And sometimes it was 5, sometimes I was done within an hour. But I made sure that I set the appointment. That's why it's important, guys, to kind of know and I didn't know my numbers at that point. For me, it was, I had something to prove. So it was my motivation probably more than anything. I did not know any of this. But as I started to learn this, it really gave me clarity to everything. All right, so you'll see a little box over here, guys, that closings needed. So this basically is, now this year, you could have thrown this out of the window because our second and third quarter, we were in lockdown for most of it. But in a normal year, typically your first and fourth quarter is slower and your second and third are more active. So this was basically just telling me what needed to happen monthly in those months in order for me to, so I knew like January, February, March, I needed to close essentially one a month. April, May, June, July, August, I had to close up 1.5 to a month. Now, obviously that might be skewed again this year. So just that's what that box is, if anybody's wondering. All right, so up to this point, what questions do we have?
I have one quick question, Desiree. Right. When you know like how many buyers you had this year and how many sellers that you had this year, how do you figure out the conversion, like the percentage for each one?
So take your number of, so if you take your number of deals, say it's 100.
Okay.
And you divide it by the number that pieces of business. So if you closed 60 buyers out of that 100, it would be 60%. So just take your total number of transactions divided by how many buyers you had, and that will give you the percentage.
Oh, okay. So the full total and then divided
Correct.
by each separate side. Okay.
Correct. Yep.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, guys, any other questions regarding the economic model? I'm only going to give you a few minutes to work on this because I want to get into the budget and marketing model real quick. So I'm going to give everybody about 5 or so minutes to kind of plug in your numbers there and ask any questions that you might have.
Desiree, I guess I have a question. So until I have a trend, some of these numbers I can't really, I don't have. So I can use the numbers you have populated because they're conservative. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I would use what's in there for now. And again, guys, I would say you kind of know going through this process what numbers you need to track. Start putting the documentation or the sheets in place, and eventually Command will be able to do all of this for us if you're using it to high level, that you'll literally be able to pull your numbers from there. But until that point, just track it yourself. Like, you know, track those. And one of the sheets coming up here, if you tab all the way over, the lead generation tracker will help you with that, Scott. Once we get through that, that will help you track your numbers.
Okay.
So we'll get into that next week, but that will help you with conversion rates and stuff like that, as long as you do the sheet. And that's the key, guys. Like if you're not on a team and you're an individual agent, get an accountability partner. Get someone that you can jump on the phone with for 5 minutes simply to run down your numbers with someone. Get with your team leader, your PC coach, get with someone just to run, I will tell you, there is some sort of accountability on our team when you're calling, you have to call in the next morning and say, I didn't do any lead gen today. You can hear it in their voices that they're disappointed, because they didn't do it that day. So it does hold you accountable to be doing something.
I have a quick question.
Sure.
Do you use QuickBooks in addition to all of your spreadsheets?
I do.
Okay. I don't have the QuickBooks yet. I have the spreadsheets.
Yeah, I do QuickBooks for my personal expenses and my business as well.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I started out with QuickBooks and then realized I needed to track my numbers like Desiree's sheet, because I couldn't rely on QuickBooks. I had to track it myself. And so I could see projections of where I was going. Like this has been so helpful. Because I keep thinking, Desiree, every time you talk, what can't be measured can't be managed.
Correct.
And so I've been every Sunday night, that's my numbers thing that Bob Wells teaches, is you just, it's painful at first, and now I can't wait to do my numbers. It's crazy. It's because of you, Desiree. Thank you.
Oh, you're very welcome. All right, guys, how are we good? Are we good to move on? Show of hands. Good to move on. Good to move on. All right. Budget model. All right, we're gonna stay on this for one more second. Sorry. Scroll up to the top. Your GCI goal, that calc auto populated for you, take that number, click on the budget model, and plug that number into annual right here.
What are we supposed to be plugging in?
Your GCI. So on the economic model, it automatically calculated your GCI when you changed the transaction and average commission. Your GCI goal was calculated. So you take that GCI goal on the economic model and then plug it into the budget model. And I know the first question that I'm gonna get, I don't have these expenses. I don't like, I don't spend that on lead gen. I don't, I don't spend that on education. I don't, have these technologies. This is a baseline, guys, based on the economic budget or the budget model in the MREA book. So with that being said, this is a calculation of what it typically would look like. Now, I will tell you, I've been tracking this for the last 4 years that I've been doing, 3-4 years that I've been doing this. A direct reflection of my business was the lead gen. Meaning if I spent only, say, $5,000 on lead gen a month, guess what my production was? That $5,000. It was a direct correlation to the number. Does that make sense to everybody? Everybody's kind of looking at me like oddly, like I don't understand what you're saying.
I think you said 5,000 a month.
Well, I'm just using 5,000 a month. Like for this example, like, so if I only spent 5,000 a month and should have been spending, say, 7,000 a month, I only produced what 5,000 a month would give me. Does that make sense? Am I saying that correctly? I just want to make sure that I'm saying it in a way that everybody understands. Now, some of these other things might not play in, like you probably don't have occupancy right now, right? You probably don't, you probably, if you don't have an office space or you're not going into the office, you may not have an office bill right now. Your technology fee may not be that. Your education may not be that. You may not have an admin yet, but these are a baseline of what you should be spending if you're wanting the 30, 30, 40. So 30% cost of sale, 30% expenses will give you a profit of 40%. So everybody get that? 30, 30, 40. If you take one thing away from today, it should be that. 30% cost of sale, 30% expenses. Cost of sale also includes what you pay the market center, guys. So the 21,000, the 3,000 royalty, that's cost of sale.
Desiree?
Yes.
Okay, two things. This sheet that we're on at the moment, which I think is the budget model. Yes. Okay. So the numbers on lines 9 through 17, are those pulling from the other sheets yet, or am I filling those in?
No, the budget model is pulling from your GCI. You're not, these numbers are from the budget model. So this is just to compare what your expenses are now to based on 90, we're gonna use this as an example, the 90 GCI, this is what they should be. So if there, two things you can take from this sheet. One, is there an area that I'm not spending that I should be spending? And secondly, are my expenses out of line? And I'll use this as an example. Say your lead gen, you want a 90,000 GCI and you're spending 2,000 a month on lead gen. That's out of line. That's out of line, guys. You need to cut your lead gen expenses. So if you're giving, I'll use this as an example. If you're giving Zillow $2,000 a month and your goal is to do a 90 GCI, you're overspending like $1,000. Do you see what I'm saying? So this is kind of like, okay, let's circle back, see what my expenses are, and are they in line based on what I need to do? And if they're not, adjust.
Desiree,
Okay. So again, just so I'm clear, this is doing all that by itself.
Correct. The only thing that you change is this 90, the box that it's the annual GCI. The annual GCI will calculate everything through from you based on the budget model of the MREA.
Got it.
And
Okay,
it does,
thank you.
as you get to higher numbers, guys, or are less, these percentages that are in here will change, but I just did a general across the board. It's close enough. It might be off 1% or 2%, but it's pretty darn close. Let's put it that way.
so
And one
Desiree-
other thing you said that if we remember one thing from today, 30, 30, 40, what's that referring to?
30% cost of sale, 30% expenses gives you a profit of 40%. We're in the business to make a profit, guys, not to just thrive or survive.
30% expenses gives you 40%.
30% cost of sale, 30% expenses, 40% profit.
Okay.
In this
Thank you.
example, the breakdown would be your 30% cost of sale is 34,000. Your 40% gross profit is 55,800, and your expenses, which is the other 30, is 36. Am I reading that right?
Correct.
Okay.
So in this example, is this suggesting that a 90,000 annual GCI should have a $10,890 lead generation cost?
Correct, a year.
In a year, okay.
In a year. So that's, if you look, it's a year and then about $907.50 a month. And it may not be that, it may be if you're mostly referral based, those numbers may be skewed, but it's more an example to say, am I spending more than that?
So can I ask a question? What are your formulas for those cells? Because I think mine's skewed quite a bit.
So if you look, it's like, if you look at, it's 0.38. If you hover over, it will tell you what the formula is.
Yeah, so looks like my gross profit is B2 minus B3. I think that's wrong. I need to fix that. Your gross profit would be, then that would be B2 times 0.4, right?
Correct.
Okay, all right, thank you.
So is this form helpful? Do we have any more questions here?
What I found was my cost of sales was lower and my expenses were lower. So then therefore my net profit was higher starting out. Correct?
And that's okay. Lenore, what I would say is for you, and only because I know you personally, like you specifically might, obviously with like administration hires and stuff like that, those things would be different.
Yeah, well, it is, now it's different, but I'm saying when I started out, just for people on this call, like that looks scary. Your net income's only 25,000 if your GCI is 90,000, but it's not in the beginning. Your cost of sales is lower and your expenses are lower. So your net income's a little bit higher. It's only when you scale.
Correct.
Right.
I'm sorry, Desiree, what should the formula be for gross profit?
So it should be the B2 minus the B3.
It should, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, so I undid what was,
Yeah, so
Yeah.
it should be, so go up to cost of sale, it should be 0.3. I think I had that at 0.38. So it should be 0.3. So what do you do if your numbers are off or higher than this or off of whack? It's okay as long as you know where the money's going and it's getting you a return on investment.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
okay.
Can you repeat that one more time, please?
So for example, my cost of sale was 40% this year. So my numbers were skewed, but I knew that my numbers were going to be skewed this year because I kind of am only working on my team 25%. Like I'm working selling real estate on nights and weekends. My main role is the team leader of the market center. So I knew my numbers were going to be skewed this year until I was able to make hires in order to fill that, you know what I mean? Like I knew where the disconnect was. So I would say just use this to make sure that your expenses are in line. If they're not in line, have like really look to see where they're at. Okay.
Desiree?
And I will tell you, go ahead.
Is the cost of sale, right? Is the cost of sale reflective of the cap?
Yes.
So Desiree, the cost of sale is a straight 30% of the GCI. How does that reflect the cap? If because as the GCI just continues to go up, the cost of sale is just going to continue to go up.
Yes, the cost of sale will go up because it's calculating into that like referral fees and stuff like that. Because cost of sale also includes referral fees and different things that you would potentially have to pay out. It's just a baseline. Again, if you don't pay, like I pay out referral fees, so that has to be calculated in that. If the cost of sale also includes agent splits. So that's going to be, again, just realize that it's the base model of what it should be around. Does that make sense? I don't know if I'm answering your question or not.
It does. So a lot of those referral fees and everything would still stay rolled in there, but I guess a portion of it paid to
the market center.
The market
center.
Yeah. So
that would drop away.
Correct. Yeah. So for example, like if
I think that's what he's asking is if once you hit your cap,
that number would change substantially.
Yes, but this is an annual, you're paying your cap every year. So it's an annual number.
So this just reflects if you're going to meet your cap for the year. So that's what this reflects.
Yeah. And that number could be skewed. If you get all of your business from, and you're paying by, say you get KW referrals and you're paying referral fees out on every single deal, that's going to make your numbers different. It's going to skew your numbers. It's going to skew this budget model, I guess is what I'm saying. But the key of this is make sure your expenses are in line here. Like when we did our marketing budget for this year, we found out that our marketing budget was way out of line of what it should be. So then we had to go back and look, what do we need to cut in order to put it back in line for everything that we wanted to do. Make sense?
It does.
Okay. And if there is a skew, it's okay. Just know that your profit's not going to be there. You may not have a 40% profit that year, but at least know where that money's being spent and is it being wasted? Like, can you give up an occupancy expense to offset those costs? Like, your marketing budget might be higher, but your salaries are less. This is kind of a give and take. This is just a baseline based off of the MREA book. Okay. All right, I have 7 minutes here. Any questions about that, guys? And I wanna get through this kind of quickly, just so that I can take a couple minutes to answer any questions. So what I want you to do is go through what business you have done this year and figure out if you're getting a return on investment on it. And what does your budget look like for next year? So what are you going to do? And this is just a template, guys. Go in and edit it to what you're doing. So are you doing, like, this is an example of what we did, what we spent monthly and yearly. So go through, make your own based on your own budget. And guys, if I can give you one tip, it should be, if you're a single agent, it should be command Facebook ads. And what can you do for your sphere and past clients? Your biggest return on your investment is going to be your sphere and past clients, followed up by KW command. So if you're wondering what should this look like, that's what it should be surrounded. If you look at this example, hockey games, networking events, Thanksgiving cards, movie night, referral gifts and blankets, marketing videos, 36 touch, all of that is the biggest chunk of this marketing plan is based on our database. So when you're looking at your marketing plan for next year, is it largely surrounding who you know? And how many people on this call are like, I don't have a database, right? So it might be different for everybody. It's going to be different for everybody what that looks like. All right. I have 4 more minutes, guys. I just want to be respectful of everybody's time. What final questions do we have?
Desiree, question.
Yes.
Can babysitting costs be calculated as a business expense?
Babysitting costs?
Mm-hmm.
I would probably put that under personal, but ask your accountant.
Okay. Thank you.
Anything else? Any other questions? So what's our homework for this week is to work on getting through the 4 tabs. And it's important that the next time that you come to this call next week, that you have at least at bare minimum, if anything else, you have what your yearly transactions need to be. I'd prefer you to know how many appointments that you know you need to go on a month and or a week. So before next week, have what your numbers are actually going to need to be for the year. All right. All right, guys, 3 more minutes. Any other questions? Any feedback that you can give on today's class?
Desiree,
Thank you.
I see it's being recorded. Is Erin going to send this out today so we can go back and?
I can ask them to. I was just told to, I was just asked to teach. So I'll talk to JD and Erin and see what we can do about that.
Yeah, it's to be back. Good to go back and dig into it in quiet.
Yeah. And guys, if you have any questions as you're going through this, feel free to shoot me an email or text or call. I will get back to you as soon as I possibly can. I know this is super important. So, I'm willing to help anybody get through this and at least give you guys a baseline of where you need to be. and don't expect it to be perfect, guys. Like I said, I still, 4 or 5 years later, it's still not perfect for me. And I'm still learning and tweaking and changing every single year. It's just something, as you learn it, you can look at it as a business owner and not just a realtor. You can really take a look at your business from a business perspective of what you need to do. And if anything, if you're not willing to do it, then, it gives you clarity that, that you're not going to hit those goals for this year. All right. It is 10:59. I will take any final questions and then I will let everybody go for the week.
Desiree, that was awesome. That's probably the best use of my time that I've done in the last month.
Oh, well, thank you. That fills my heart and makes me happy that it was of value, because
I can't wait till next week because I have struggled with the GPS and 411 for 10 years.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because, I never, they teach in each model individually, but they never teach a class on how it ties together as a group or whole. And it's like, you have all of these models and then you're like, well, what am I supposed to do with it? Like, how does this all tie together? So once I was able to figure that out, it made my business a whole heck of a lot easier, because then I could tie it all together.
Yeah, having your workbook is awesome, because normally they give you these paper sheets, but having the formulas in Excel and being able to just plug things in and having it tick and tie across is so much more helpful.
Yeah, and if you go on my group page, guys, for anybody that's still on the call, it breaks it down per GCI, because the percentages skew a little bit on the budget model. As your gross commission income goes up, the numbers skew a little bit. So if you go on the Facebook group page and you go under files, it will give you the breakdown, but I just did a general across the board, just to make it easy for everybody to go through this exercise.
Yeah, it was great. I think if you had any more complication, you would have lost half the people.
Yeah, like if I said, oh, use this one for this GCI and this one for this GCI and this one. Yeah, no, I just kept it very simple.
Yeah, it's very complicated to begin with. So that was awesome. And I was on the same journey. I made my husband and I'm like, would always be like, oh, you're spending too much money on this and you spent it. I'm like, put it in QuickBooks. Because when I did financial mastery, got everything in QuickBooks, it was like, whoa, for my business. So I was just like, for the personal, I was just like, we need to get it in QuickBooks because it will be very eye-opening, and it was.
And it does, like, for me, I use that budget model as a baseline, and I can find out very quickly like right now, I'll tell you, for our business personally, I'm really struggling with our lead gen model right now, because our lead gen budget, because my budget is about $2,000 over what we should be spending a month. So like, I'm really taking a hard look right now as to
2,000 a month over?
2,000 a month over my budget, or my lead gen monthly spend is about 2,000 over a month right now. Now it's because of everything that I want to do.
Mm-hmm.
So now I'm trying to like go back through and say, what do I need to cut here in order to get that number in model? And that's how I use the budget model, is to make sure that I'm not out of whack. Because you could lose profit really quickly.
Yeah. See, I'm the other way. I'm not spending hardly anything on lead gen, so I need to ramp that up. And
yeah, and I would look at that, Mary Pat, because when I looked at
the correlation you were
saying, the correlation between the two,
mm-hmm.
It was a direct reflection on how much business I actually did.
Yeah, I only have been pretty much referral and repeat business and I was getting all of my new clients from open houses. So now with that is an almost dead avenue to be seen what happens in the future. And I'm like, okay, well, now I've got one on the books for next year. Everything, I'm dead in the water. I closed everything that I had this year. So
I would possibly ramp up your, look at ramping up what you do for your database.
yeah, I don't do anything. So I'm working on that. Have you ever heard of Outbound Engine?
Mm-mm.
Okay, so it seemed like they'll go in there and they'll clean it up. They'll do social media marketing for me. They'll clean up my website. They'll do everything for like $250 a month. And everyone I talked to was like, that's too high. You can do it yourself in command. So I'm like, but I'm not getting to it. I've been trying to get to it for a year and I'm not getting to it. So it's almost like I don't.
I did something like that. I did not see a return on that.
Mm-hmm. That's what the one person who did use it said. They did really nice stuff, but she got no return.
Yeah, and that is what I would be mindful of. Like, I would say you can hire a VA assistant to go in and at least get your command in place. Yeah. And running to at least a high level that you can pop in and do what you need to do.
Yeah, that's kind of what her suggestion was.
I would do that, and then
60 challenge and figure it out.
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, literally, you could go in there and spend an hour or two and schedule your entire week post out in command.
Yeah, that's my goal. That was my realization.
Or just have a VA assistant do it for you. Hire like a virtual assistant for 5-10 hours a week to do that stuff for you.
Yeah, that sounds like a better use
I would
of
look
time.
at more ways of touching your database, whether it's drop-bys, whether it's Zoom, what can you, like, I thought of a great idea. I just don't know the logistics of it. I was going to get like a chef to kind of do like a cooking class, and then have like people register for the event and then get all the ingredients and deliver it to their house.
Oh, virtually,
and then have it jump on virtually and have them cooking with their family.
Oh, that's a great idea, because this is my 10-year anniversary. So I had all these good intentions. I've never done any client appreciation events, but 10 years, I'm doing a big client appreciation event. No, can't do what I want to do. So I'm like, what do I do? So like, do I buy stuff and go drop by? And so something like that's an awesome idea. But thank you. Thank you so much. I look forward to next Friday.